Hey guys, it's Itzel. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm bringing you a little bit of a different kind of video for me, and that's my monthly bullet journal setup. So I've been inconsistently bullet journaling for almost 2 years now, and I decided why not share it with you guys. So in this video, I'm going to be using Pigma Micron pens in a few different tip sizes, mostly 05, 03, and 01. Also, my Tombow no Scoop pens is specifically the hard tip, the high polymer eraser by Pencil, a few different shades and colors of my Tombow dual brush pens, and finally a clear plastic ruler. And in case you're wondering, I use the Scribbles That Matter Pro dot grade journal. Obviously you can use whatever supplies you want, whether that's more or less than I use. It's really your own preference. This month's theme, I decided to go for something really summery, so I went with summery kind of beverages. With that, I also incorporated a few different lemon and grapefruit kind of slices thrown into there, so I thought it really tied in together. And if you want to see how I got it, then just keep on watching.
Hey guys, so I do start most of my bullet journal spreads out by sketching them out with pencil first, and that's just because sometimes I'm really not sure of how I want my theme to be portrayed or what doodles I want to do exactly, or maybe what font I want to use. So if I sketch it out, then it helps me see the picture first before I put anything down in permanent ink, such as markers and pens, and it just helps me visualize it better. That way, once I am ready to actually put the color on the page, I can see more or less what it's going to look like and make sure I like it. I'm starting off by outlining these lemon or grapefruit or orange slices with various shades of pink, orange, and yellow. And originally I was going to outline them with the color and then follow that with an outline in black, but I decided that they would contrast a lot better with the black lettering if I just left them alone with the color, and I ended up liking that a lot better. Now I'm writing in the quote for my Quilt Page with an all caps font and using my Pigma Micron pen. The quote just says, "Life is short, squeeze everything you can from it." And I left a little portion blank where I wanted to write squeeze because instead of using just the black pen, I wanted to make it more calligraphy styled. So I'm using a Tombow dual brush pen with a yellow shade to write the word squeeze. And I really like how this came out considering I had no guide for it. I had no markings to tell me where to write it. I just kind of went for it, and it actually came out really nice and really centered, probably just because the rest of the page was already filled out, so I could really visualize it a lot better. And I went ahead and outlined it just to make it pop out just a little bit more using that same Pigma Micron pen, just with a smaller tip size. I really like the quote that I picked for this theme because I think it really matches this particular quote page and the doodles that I chose. And now I'm just going ahead and erasing all the pencil marks underneath everything I did. And yes, I did accidentally forget to write that little line, so I went back to do that. And it's a lot harder to erase from the areas where I actually put the color down rather than where I just put the black ink. So I would definitely recommend using maybe lighter strokes for anywhere that you think you're just going to use the Tombow dual brush pens. That way it's a lot harder to see them even if the eraser doesn't fully get them. And I'm just going back in and adding almost like a little bit of shading where there could be possible seeds in the fruits, but I didn't really know how to draw the seeds that way, so instead I just added this little detail just to give it a little bit more visual interest. Moving on to the cover page for this month, I'm starting off by outlining a summery style beverage. This is a mason jar kind of cup with a little handle on it because I thought that would look super cute. There's a little lime on the rim, and maybe I should have added some tahini. If anyone knows what that is, it's really good, and you already know that. But I didn't add it in this particular drawing. Enough of that. I also drew a little straw in it, and although this isn't really a super realistic style drawing, I still wanted to incorporate the refraction in the water by adding the little effect of a slightly broken straw. And I'm also adding a few other details, like the lines on the straw to make it a bendy straw, and also a little outline on the edge of the cup just because that's how a lot of them look in real life. And also those small curved triangles on the glass, just because that's how glass is typically depicted in a lot of doodles. And using my Tombow no Scoop hard tip pen, I'm writing out June, which is obviously the title for this cover page. and the thickness of my downstrokes wasn't as thick as I wanted them to be, so I went back and just added a little bit more thickness and made the lines a little bit clearer, just so I got it to the way I wanted it to be. Now taking one of my Tombow dual brush pens, I'm highlighting where I want the letters of the days of the week to go, and then using a Sigma Micron pen, I'm just writing out the days of the month. I'm taking my dual brush pens once again just to add some more color to the page, so I'm outlining the lime and the June bell at the top, and also I decided that the June looked really plain, so I'm outlining that with a different shade just to make it pop and stand out a little bit more. Now that I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to go ahead and flip the page and get started on my monthly view. As you can see, I was having a little bit of trouble getting my marker and my ruler to cooperate, but that's a me problem, not a ruler or a marker problem. And I decided to round out my corners just because I figured it matched the theme a little bit better for whatever reason. That's just what my brain told me to do. But of course you can do it however you would like. You don't need to use a ruler for this step, but I think it really makes the end result look a lot neater. And in case you're wondering, the dimensions for these boxes are 5x7. If you do decide to use a ruler, using a clear ruler can be a lot more helpful than using one that isn't clear, just because you're able to see the dots a lot better and therefore you're able to make your lines straighter. For this page, I decided to make the same little fruit slice doodles as I did in my first quilt page, just because they were really simple to do and just added a little bit of something to this plain spread. Another variation could be to add little seeds on them, or to make them half slices or other kinds of slices instead of just this stereotypical circular version. I wanted to add a little section for my goals, so I decided to draw another summery style beverage. It's another mason jar, but this time without the handle, just because it didn't really fit. I added a drink umbrella with polka dots, and also a different version of a straw. I just wanted something pretty simple that still matched my theme. I have a blank spot on top of my goals section that I might be filling in with a quote later on. To write the days of the week on top of my calendar, I made little highlights with my Tombow dual brush pens, just alternating two different light colors, and then in all caps I wrote the first 3 letters of each day of the week. Off camera I wrote in the numbers of the month just because it would take way too long to do on camera, and I also wrote in June just because I forgot to do that on camera, but I just did it with a dual brush pen and then outlined it to make it stand out, and of course I erased all of the pencil in the background. Moving on to my habit tracker spread, I'm writing the word habit in a variation of block lettering. I'm just outlining it without actually filling it in, and I'm using 5 different colors for the 5 different letters in the word. There's no particular order, it's just what I wanted to do. And for the word tracker, I wrote it down diagonally, and to give it more visual interest, I just wrote the same letter all the way down the rest of the line. Of course, I did happen to make a little mistake and put an R where the E should be, but I go ahead and fix that later with just some simple whiteout tape, and then I write over it. And on the other half of the diagonal, or I guess the square, I decided to make another little line just to kind of play in with the theme. To incorporate more of my theme onto the spread, I added 2 drawings on 2 corners of my page, and I really like how they came together. Even though I used 2 new colors, I thought both of them really matched the previous color palette I had. And I'm not gonna lie, I really did mess up how I outlined my drawing on the bottom corner just because I used the brush tip instead of the bullet tip, and although I really wasn't satisfied with the way it looked, it didn't bother me a whole lot, so I decided to just leave it alone. I'm sticking to the same design as my previous drawings and just outlining everything in black and then adding a little bit of color, again mostly just outlined, to some of the more important elements of each drawing. I decided to make individual trackers this month and only tracking 5 things so I can really focus on those 5 things. So to do this, I made 5 mini outlines of the monthly calendar and left some space so I can write the habit that each tracker was going to be tracking. I also decided not to write in the numbers of each day of the month just because it would take too long and I didn't deem it entirely necessary. Tracking 5 habits was completely unintentional, but since this was a happy accident, I decided to take the same 5 shades that I use in my title to make highlights where I wanted to write each habit that I was going to be tracking. And as you can see in the first one, where I wanted to write skincare, I didn't have enough room, and since I had a lot of space around it, I decided to just make another highlight so I could write it that way. As you can see, I messed up my spacing between 2 of the highlights, so to fix it, I just added another highlight below the yellow one, just to make it look more intentional. On the other page, I decided to leave a space open for content ideas, and that's for bullet journaling and also YouTube in general. I made the title really simple and plain just because I wanted a lot of space for that, and unfortunately when I was erasing the pencil marks, I accidentally crumpled the paper a little bit, which is so heartbreaking. I don't know why that happens to me all the time. It's so unfortunate. Moving on to the next spread, which happens to be my last spread for this video. It's my first weekly spread for the month, and this is a new layout for me. Quarantine has me changing a lot of my plans. In a sense, I'm not as busy, but I'm also busier because I want to do more now that I have more time, but I don't have as much events. So those squares are going to be my dailies. It's going to give me a lot of room to add to-do list and just things I want to accomplish throughout the day. I also have an entire section to plan out my workouts. I'm sure that being more organized with this is going to make sure that I'm more likely to do them, and I'm more likely to waste less time because I know exactly what I'm going to be doing that day. To decorate this spread a little bit more, I decided to make drop shadows on each of the weekly boxes, and I'm using all of the colors that I had in the color palette and I previously used in my other spreads, and I'm also using that same color to coordinate in my workout section. I'm making a little highlight in each of the boxes, just alternating the side that it's on, because that's where I'm going to write the day of the week. So for this last box, I had planned to use the darker green that I had used throughout my spreads to draw the lines, but then I remembered I had that lighter green that I worked with, and I thought it really matched the color palette. But then I realized I wanted to use that color for something else, and I went ahead and used the darker green. I was just flipping through the pages to compare the two colors. So I went ahead and wrote in the full days of the week in my workout section, and as I mentioned previously, I used the green shade to highlight certain portions on those boxes on what would be my sidebar, because I wanted to write something in there later and have it stand out just a little bit more. The box on the top right corner says gratitude, and the box on the bottom right corner says for next week. With the space in between those two boxes, I decided to fill it with my favorite thing, which is writing a quote, and I was using the same colors that I've been using throughout this entire spread. The quote just says, "Don't wait, the right time will never be just right." I decided to use the mix of these two fonts and these two styles just because I thought that they contrasted really well and looked really nice together. I'm really excited to see how this new layout works for me. Taking my Pigma Micron pens, I'm going back in to write in the days of the week in an all caps font and also adding the numbers to each day. And that's it. There we have it. My June monthly spread.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed my spread. I know I did. I know plans and events can be really complicated right now during these quarantine times, but I think that's why having a bullet journal or really any kind of planner is really important right now, so you stay organized and you have somewhat of a good routine to follow so your life doesn't just completely fall apart while we're in quarantine. If you like this video, then don't forget to leave a comment down below, drop a like, and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Don't forget to hit that notification bell also. Thanks so much for watching.